Hey guys, thanks for coming back and joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. Glad to have you back. So, today's episode, we are going to focus on our self talk, how we talk to ourselves, because I think it has such an impact on just our general outlook on life, on our ability to push through challenges, on our ability to maintain a positive attitude, and specifically, we're going to talk about how to avoid negative self talk. So, let's dive right into it without further ado. So, first off, what is self talk? Simply, self talk is negative thought that is the way you talk to yourself in your head or out loud. So, it's your inner voice, it's what you tell yourself, whether you say it out loud to yourself. Some people talk to themselves. I do that sometimes out loud. Some people talk to themselves in their head, but everybody goes through self talk and does self talk. And the way in which you kind of talk to yourself can have a huge impact on how you see yourself, on how you approach life, on how you push through challenges, like we talked about kind of at the top there. So, um, negative self talk in general, too much of it leads to bad things. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But first thing is, not all negative self talk is bad. I can tell you, me personally, it's a way I motivate myself sometimes. Like, don't be soft, push through. You don't want to be a quitter. Only quitters would stop now, those kind of things. I don't think that's a bad thing. I did a lot of research on this. A lot of psychologists say the same thing, that it's not bad to push yourself and that not all self talk is bad. So, that sucked. You can do better. Or, come on, Joe, get your stuff together, right? Those are negative connotations, but they're not bad. Sometimes it could be a good way to refocus yourself, change your thought process, or shake yourself out of a rut. Like, let's go, let's get with it. Like, I got to be better than I am right now. Acknowledging that you've got to focus on something or work on something is not necessarily a bad thing. So let's just get out of the way up front. Not all negative self talk is bad. Sometimes it can be useful. And, again, I do that sometimes to myself. I've found it to be an effective way to kind of shake myself and get myself to refocus on what I'm trying to accomplish. So, not necessarily bad because you have negative self talk. With that said, if it's your go to, if it's the primary inner voice, is always kind of cutting yourself down or reminding yourself that you don't think you're worth it, you don't think you're good enough, you don't think you can hang, however you want to talk about it, you need to make it a focus to change how you talk to yourself, because all of those negative feelings and emotions inside are going to manifest themselves to the external world in pretty negative ways. And they're going to stop you from taking on new challenges. They're going to stop you from succeeding. They're going to sabotage a lot of your efforts going forward. So if you find it's your default to say, why do I always screw this up? Why can't I get anything right? Why does this always happen to me? I'm so stupid. I can't get this right. I shouldn't even try. If that's your default, or you find yourself saying that a lot, you really need to kind of check yourself and find new ways to get yourself out of those thought processes, ideally to stop those from happening. But even if you can't stop them from happening, to recognize it very quickly and have some type of mechanism or way in your head that works for you to change those negative thoughts to at least neutral thoughts, if not positive thoughts. So you really got to kind of do an inspection of yourself and say, hey, do I do this a lot? Do I get negative a lot, negative with myself a lot? Am I too hard on myself? Am I sabotaging myself by the way I think about particular things or particular situations? So I think it's very important. So the constant stream of negatives, there's some really negative things that it can do to your long term mental health. So if you're a person that struggles with anxiety or depression, or you're naturally anxious, it can exacerbate that. It's kind of keeps you in that cycle. It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I told myself I sucked. Then when I sucked, I reinforced it by saying, see, I knew I sucked. And it's a bad way to go. And it can worsen anxiety or depression. And those can be challenging things to fight through. There's several people in my life that are very anxious. I am not one of those people, so it's a foreign thing to me. But I'm one of the leaders in the groups that I kind of run in, and I want to try to help people deal with what they want to deal with. And by help, I mean equip them with the skills and abilities they need to handle these problems on their own in a self-sufficient way, going forward. So even though that I'm not an anxious or depressed person generally, I kind of had tried to learn what it what how you can help people that struggle with those issues. Like I have a temper, and my big challenge is controlling my temper. And I've learned techniques and processes by which I can keep my temper under control. I've gotten a lot better at it over the years. I'm not perfect, but I'm way better at it than I used to be, and hopefully tomorrow I'm better at it than I was today, and et cetera, et cetera. But if you have a bunch of negative self-talk, it absolutely can worsen your anxiety or depression and keep you in the funk that you're desperately trying to get out of. So you got to think about it from that perspective. If you want to help yourself, you've got to figure out how to change that negative self-talk. Um, it can harm your relationship with others. When someone's negative all the time, when the glass is half empty, when they don't have any enthusiasm for life, when they're not excited about taking on new opportunities, those are the kind of people that kind of tend to suck energy out of other people. And you don't want to be one of those people. Nobody wants to be one of those people. And it could be that your negative self talk is contributing to that perception that other people have of you, because negative self talk manifests itself in negative uh, ways to the external world. And so that negative self talk absolutely can be presenting a negative persona or a negative attitude to those around you. And that's not what you want. You want to get that fixed as quick as you can. It can lead you to engage in self destructive behavior. How many times have you said, let's just say that you're on a workout streak and you didn't work out today, and you say, oh, I was trying to work out every day this week and it's Tuesday and I already missed Tuesday. So screw it. I'm just not going to work out the rest of the week. And you write that stuff off, right? That negative self-talk is terrible in those situations. And it can lead you to engage in those kind of behaviors. And one way to think about it, the way I try to encourage people to think about it, is if you have a flat tire, you don't pop your other three tires and say, well, forget it. Like, I got a flat tire. I can't go anywhere. I may as well sabotage the rest of the car. Don't do that to yourself. Negative self-talk can lead you to make those decisions. Whatever your behavior, your go-to behavior is. Maybe it's not going out. Maybe it's saying no to social activities. Maybe it's eating food. Maybe it's smoking. There's lots of negative self-destructive behaviors that negative self-talk can absolutely contribute to. So it can help you fight through some of those situations as well. And then lastly, it can just hurt your self-esteem. Like if you hear all the time from yourself what a piece of trash you are, you're going to start to think you're a piece of trash. It's no different than if other people are hammering on you all the time. It's difficult and takes a lot of intestinal fortitude to fight through that and say, no, I'm not going to listen to the noise and I'm not going to listen to the haters. If the noise and the hater is you, you're creating a negative environment and setting yourself up for failure, making it that much harder for yourself to succeed. So, yeah, negative self talk is just such a terrible thing, and you have control over it. I'm telling you have control over it. It may not seem like you do, but you do. And you just have to be willing to take that control. So, what are some ways that you can take control and overcome that negative self talk when you find yourself in one of these cycles where everything is negative and you're thinking poorly about yourself and I suck, I can't do anything right, we got no jobs, we got no girls, our pets' heads are falling off, right? You don't want to be in one of those cycles. How do you get out of them if you find yourself in one of those cycles? One way to do it is ask yourself, would I say these things to my friends or my family? Would you tell your kid all the negative things you think about yourself? Would you say those to your kid and meet them about them? Would you say it to your spouse? Would you say it to your best friend? Would you say it to your coworkers? If you wouldn't do it to them, don't do it to yourself. It's really that basic. But maybe repositioning it to think, hey, I wouldn't talk to other people this way. I'm not going to talk to myself this way. That can be a good way to kind of snap yourself out of it and say, this is silly. I have control over this. I'm going to stop doing this to myself. Number two, ask yourself, is it helping me to think this way? What does it accomplish? So if you have these negative thoughts and you wind up in these cycles, when you come out or when you're through with yourself or your machinations and your self-hatred, are you any further along than you were? Has anything been solved? Are any of your problems different, better, gone? The answer is almost always no. That type of energy devoted to negative self-talk is such unproductive energy. So ask yourself, is this helping me? I have control over this. I have control over my attitude. I have control over my thoughts. And this is not helping me. I need to find a different way to think about this particular situation or think about this particular instance that is more positive than the way I'm thinking about it now. So try to reframe it that way if that's helpful. And then, thirdly, is the energy I'm spending on this negative situation solving my problems or improving my situation? Like, just ask yourself that specific question. No, it's not. I can tell you it's not because I'm no different than anyone else. It happens to me. And when you're done throwing your tantrum, or you're done having your pity party, or you're done feeling sorry for yourself, whatever your go to is, you're going to wind up right in the same situation you were before you started, but you're going to have less energy. You're going to feel worse about it. It's going to be a steeper hill to climb, and you've created those obstacles yourself with that negative self talk. So, those are questions you can kind of think to stop the negative self talk from happening. Now, what can you replace it with? Because you're going to think about stuff. How can you replace the negative self talk with good thoughts, with positive thoughts, with productive thoughts? So here's some things that have worked for me or worked for others that I know in the past. And a lot of the most successful people I know have a way to reframe things in their head to make themselves think about it differently. So maybe some of these will work for you as well. Number one, I cannot control the past. I need to focus on what I have control over. So the negative self-talk is almost always, kind of reliving or relitigating in your head challenges or problems you've gone through, or things you regret, things you wish you hadn't said, things you wish you hadn't done. The bell has been rung. The toothpaste is out of the tube. You can't stop it. Remind yourself, I only have control over now. I actually don't have control over the future. I can prepare myself so that I'm best equipped as possible to handle anything that comes in the future and put myself in the best situation possible to handle things in the future, but you only have control over right now. So refocus yourself on what can I do right now to make my situation better. That thought can replace a negative thought and help you kind of get over the reef and start taking actions that are positive for you. Number two, it's okay that I made a mistake. I can learn from it and do better next time. Like we've talked about it before, nobody stood up and walked. If you have kids, they didn't stand up and walk. There's a process to that, and that process is filled with failure. At no point did we ever tell our kids, I guess you're just not a walker. You're going to have to crawl around for the rest of your life. Of course, it's silly when you say it out loud, but we think that a lot. I made a mistake. I better never do that again. That's a bad way to think about it. Take the learnings that you got from your mistake, and I don't even know if mistake is the right word. I like to say I got an outcome. I took an action. I got an outcome. If you like the outcome, repeat the action. If you don't like the outcome, change the action or tweak the action so you get a different outcome the next time you do it. That's the way I think about it. So you don't have to beat yourself up over mistakes. It's important to acknowledge them, and it's important to learn from them. But don't beat yourself up over it. It's okay that you made a mistake. The world's going to keep spinning. The sun's going to come up in the east tomorrow. I guarantee you that it's not the end of the world. You just have to think about it differently and put yourself in a position to be successful going forward. Number three, there are lots of people in the world who are dealing with worse things than me. Every time you have a negative thought, think about there's someone in the world that's taking their last breath. You don't think they would trade places with you and your problems to not be taking their last breath, or people that are dealing with terrible emotional challenges, or have lost children, or dealing with terminal diseases, or terrible things happen all over the world every day, and by and large they don't happen to you. So there's lots of people in the world dealing with much worse things than you are. You got to quit feeling sorry for yourself. You got to quit worrying about woe is me, why do these things always happen to me. There's lots of people in the world that have much bigger problems than you, and they're dealing with them. You can deal with your problems too. You have to eliminate the negative self-talk. You have to change those to positive thoughts and change into action-oriented thoughts, because that's the only way to change things, is to take action. Number four, I have a lot of people in my life who believe in me. If you stop and did an audit, there's dozens of people that count on me to be good and solid and get my stuff done every day. I love the movie It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. And, the whole essence of that movie is once he gets kind of his moment of truth and he reaches out to God for help, God sends an angel down, and the angel says, hey, I'm going to show you what all these other people's lives that you have touched would be like if you weren't there. And it shows what a huge impact that George Bailey has on all of those people that he's interacted with throughout his life. And there's tons of people in your life that get support from you, that get strength from you, that look up to you, that think highly of you. Focus on them and focus on all that support. Those are good, bright, solid people. If they think you're awesome, why shouldn't you think you're awesome? So maybe try to reframe it that way. Maybe that'll help. And then there's always my old standby. I say it a lot, and it's 100% correct. 100 years from now, we'll all be dead. Everybody that's around today will all be dead. Anyone who knows you will be dead. Anyone that knows anything about you will be dead. Someone else will be living in the house you live in right now. If you have stuff, someone else will have your stuff. All of it's fleeting, all of it's temporary. So a mistake today, big deal. It's not fatal. You gotta change your negative thought process and think about, the world's going to end someday. Like the guy in the corner that says the world's going to end. If he lives long enough, one day he's going to be right. That's probably millions and millions of years down the road. But for us, we all probably have somewhere between 80 and 120 years, based on the way life expectancy is working now. I'm 52, so I don't have 100 years anymore. At best, I've got 70. Hell, I could walk out of here and get hit by a bus. You don't know. So don't beat yourself up over these things. Stop focusing on the negative. Stop the negative self talk. Convert it to positive self talk. I am going to do this. I am taking this action right now. I am going to have confidence in myself. I'm going to fight through to the finish. So, yeah, get rid of the negative self talk. It's not helpful. It's not productive. It sabotages you, and it's within your control to change it. So take that control, and I think you'll be very happy with the changes that happen in your life. So, hope you guys find that useful. Thanks for coming back and joining us today. Don't forget to head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. You can check out all our content there. All of our podcast episodes are on there. You can sign up for our newsletter there. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you consume it on. So thanks so much for coming back, guys. Really appreciate it. Everybody have a good week, and we'll see you next time.